Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Baseball Reference Deep Dive, where we type in random in the Baseball Reference search bar and we see what we get. Let's do it. Let's get right at it. See what we can pull today. We've got another box score. We've got a lot of those so far, and we've got an oldie here today. Shutout victory. The New York Giants and the Boston Braves. Boston Braves, a 500 team at this point, 1934. Looks like a full slate of games this day. Oh, there's some. Wow, a lot of double headers. Did everybody play a doubleheader? Looks like Chicago and Pittsburgh's the only one that didn't. So this is game one of a doubleheader. Rain forced a site change. Time of game was only an hour and 45 minutes. Goodness gracious. Shut out the Boston Braves, the New York Giants. Let's see how good they were this year. 93-60. Finished second in the National League. Who'd they finish behind? The Cardinals, they just trailed by a couple of games. Okay. And then the Braves, the Boston Braves at this point, finished fourth in the National League. They finished just ahead of the Pirates, well behind the Cubs. So these top three teams here, definitely a fairly large gap between these two. So the St. Louis Cardinals won the World Series this year. Okay. Roy Parmalee, I would assume, pitched a complete game. Yep. 9 innings pitched, just 4 hits allowed, 2 walks. Didn't strike out a batter. Interesting. A complete game shutout with 0 strikeouts. I wonder how many times that has happened in history. See if I can recognize some names. Mel Otts, Hall of Famer. See if there's any other ones here. Hank Leiber. Not sure if I know that one or not. Bob Smith, I feel like, is a very common name, but I don't know if it was necessarily one of the better pitchers. Did not look like he was doing great this year. So it looks like the best hitters at this point. Mel Ott, Hall of Fame type of guy. Bill Terry was tearing it up this season. Ooh, he's a Hall of Famer too. This entire time with the Giants. We'll look at him more in a minute. JoJo Moore out of the leadoff spot was raking at this point. 6-time All-Star, also his entire career with the Giants. Finished third in MVP voting. We can start with him since he was the leadoff man. Who did he finish behind in the MVP voting? Dizzy Dean and Paul Wainer. Paul Wainer, a Hall of Famer. And then Dizzy Dean. Is he also in that conversation? Yes, he is. Okay. Wow. Look at that record. 3.02 ERA. Almost 2,000 innings pitched. JoJo Moore. So this was in 35. So the year prior was when he was in the MVP conversation. Led the league in at-bats this season. 15 homers. Followed that up. I guess, could you make an argument that, no. Yeah, his numbers are definitely down from 34 to 35, but, like, it seems like as just far as, like, bulk numbers go, it looks like he was just as good. I guess just the problem is he had 100 more at-bats, so that's what puts these numbers down a little bit. JoJo Moore. Huey Critz is a World Series champion in 33. So this Giants team was coming off of a World Series win. So they beat the Nationals in the World Series in 1933. Similar record. Actually, they had a worse record in this season. Yeah, so they had a better season, and they somehow managed to finish in second place. So that Cardinals team must have just been that much better. Where was I? Huey Critz? No, that was on a different one. Huey Critz finished second in MVP voting and fourth in MVP voting. This was towards the end of his career. This was the last good season he had, last full season. This is a career high in homers? Yeah, it is. And then back to Bill Terry, Hall of Famer, perennial MVP candidate for, like, wow, what's that, 7 straight years? 3-time All-Star. Oh, wow. Look at this 1930 season. Led the league in batting average with .401. Career .341 hitter. Where does that rank all time? All-time batting average. 18th all-time. Was top 10 in 8 seasons of his career in batting average. Bill Terry from Jacksonville, Florida. They called him Memphis Bill or Smiling Bill. Okay. So then this 33 season, that's not what I want. 33 season was his first All-Star campaign. Hit .332. Wow, he slugged 23 and 28 home runs in these couple of years. That's pretty good. That's very good, actually, for this time frame. 20 doubles. So this was kind of coming off of like 3 incredible Hall of Fame type years. Mel Ott now. This one I'm more familiar with. A lot of slug, 511 homers. Wow, almost 111 WAR. Played for 22 years, never won an MVP, but kind of always in that conversation. He was how many? 11-time All-Star, won the World Series with the Giants. Let's see this 33 season. So he was a long-time home run leader. 42 home runs at the age of 20. Wow, he started really young. And somehow he didn't lead the league in home runs this year. Way more walks than strikeouts. On-base percentage, always great. His slug, look at this slug. This right here. 304, 414, 533. If you can get the 345 in your slash mark, then if you can do that over the course of a career, yes, you are a Hall of Famer. And honestly, that probably would promote this type of WAR and these types of numbers. 511 home runs. So where does that rank all time? I want to say that's top. That's definitely top 20, surely. 500 home runs. 25th. Okay. 18 seasons he was top 10 in home runs. This guy was amazing. This guy was a really, really good player. One of the all-time greats, it seems like. Mel Ott. Travis Jackson now. Also a Hall of Famer. So this Giants team was just pumping out Hall of Fame talent. Which, this is kind of crazy. Only a one-time All-Star, but is a Hall of Famer. Veterans Committee choice. Okay, so he was not originally in the Hall of Fame based on one of those. Well, actually, this was probably that time frame where they would retroactively go back to these earlier seasons of baseball and put people in. So he might have been original. 33. Wow, he did not have a great year this year. His 34 season was fine. Definitely not nearly as good as these MVP caliber years, though. Slugging well. 16 home runs was not a career high. Perennial 20 double guy. A lot of triples in there as well. Didn't strike out a lot. So we got 3 Hall of Famers back to back to back in this lineup. Bill Terry, Mel Ott, Travis Jackson. Hank Leiber, is he also in that conversation? He made some All-Star games, but not a Hall of Famer. Shorter career comparatively to the other guys. Oh, this was his rookie year. Ooh, this is one of his first games. April 16th. Oh, I'm looking at 34. Okay, I got to get back to 34. I was looking at 33 for a couple of those. So 34, not a great year. Didn't even play the full year. But then his first full season, he really kind of came around. 22 homers, 107 RBIs. 100 RBI guy. That's a little grid nugget there. So I think this would be New York Giants. I don't know if that would be the San Francisco Giants organization or if it would be... No, because the Mets were an expansion team, so I would assume that this would suffice for the San Francisco Giants organization if you were doing this in the grid. Hank Leiber. Gus Mancuso. 34. Not a good year. Flanked by an MVP caliber season. A two-time All-Star. Average defense. Didn't hit for much power. It's just kind of a middle-of-the-road type of guy. Two-time All-Star. Gus Mancuso. Actually, he was a catcher, so let's see what his defensive metrics looked like. Wow, look at these numbers. Led the league in caught stealing twice. He caught 64? Oh my. He caught over half of the runners trying to steal against him. That's impressive. That's very impressive. I'm sure we'll never see these types of numbers again with the way that the bases have been enlarged, which makes the base paths shorter. Blondie Ryan, part of that team as well. This is first, or no, again, I gotta quit looking at 33. 33, they won the World Series, and then 34 is the year that we're looking at. So he was an MVP candidate in 33. Actually, I want to look at this. How many of these guys... Giants. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 guys were top 10 in MVP voting for the Giants that won the World Series in 33. This guy's got a little bit of trade history. Let's check that out. Signed amateur free agent. Big trade. And cash to the Phillies for Dick Bartell. Who is this? Oh, pretty darn good player. Traded by Buffalo. International to the Giants for Doc Marshall and cash. So he was traded for Doc Marshall twice. Huh. Interesting. He's not a great player. Blondie Ryan. Now Roy Parmalee, who's our starting pitcher. Eastern Michigan. Wonder how many people have come out of Eastern Michigan. Brian Bixler. Huh, that's a name. So he was one of the first. One of the longest standing as well. Okay. Whenever you see those like mid-major to low-major colleges, it's always interesting to look at those. So 34. Wow, this was his best season by far. This one was pretty good too. Yeah, I think that 33 season looked like it was a little bit better for him. He didn't pitch nearly as much in 34. Led the league in hit by pitches, wow, 4 different times, and wild pitches a couple times. Roy Parmalee. Now to the Braves. Tommy Thompson. Short career. This is kind of his first full-ish season. He never really played a full season necessarily. Not a lot of power. Didn't do a whole lot. Buck Jordan. Another kind of middle of the road player. Traded towards the end of his career. Had his first full season in 33 with the Braves. Hit 311 this year. This might have been one of his better years. 36 was pretty good too. Buck Jordan. Wally Berger. He had a nice career. Career 300 hitter. Did not play a long time, comparatively, though. Just 11 years. Flipped around a lot. MVP candidate, 4-time All-Star. 34 home runs. Ooh, a lot of RBIs early on in his career, and then he kind of fell off. One of the better hitters early on in his career. This guy, Wally Berger, okay. Wally Berger. So he would suffice for 30 home run season, 100 RBIs, never 100 runs. He always came close. Not quite, really close to 200 hits. 300 hitter, 300 career hitter, too, for Boston Braves. Wally Berger, good player. Randy Moore. Seems like this kind of fits the bill for a lot of these Braves teams. Or at least like this Braves team where they're kind of just, they play for 10 years. They hit 280-ish. Nothing super special. They don't hit for a lot of power, but, they kind of exist and they're fine. Billy Urbanski. Just another one of these guys. Played his whole career with Boston. Let's see if there's any other. 100 runs scored. 100 runs scored this year. That's a little bit worth noting. Billy Urbanski. Pinky Whitney. Cool name. Bounced around a little bit. Philly. This was kind of his one or two full seasons in Boston. He was acquired from Philly. How was that happened? Let's see. Howley. No. You never know with these players. You never know. Les Mallon. Perfect zero WAR. He existed in his time in the majors. This was his first season with Boston. Okay there. Not a lot of power, though. How did he get there? So Toronto was an international team. Purchased there. Purchased from Buffalo, also an international team. Then made his way to the White Sox. Shanty Hogan. Nice. I'm a big sea shanty guy. I could probably get along with this guy. Kind of towards the end of his career. Kind of some double-digit home runs in here. Hit 300 a couple of times. This was a good season for him with the Giants. So he was with the Giants prior. This is his former team. Played with, I guess this was the Nationals or the Senators? Washington Nationals. Shanty Hogan. L.B. Fletcher was a pinch runner. Why was he a pinch runner? He should have been in the starting lineup. He was just getting a day off. Played a long time in Pittsburgh. This was his first season. This is... What day did he make his debut? September 16th. September 16th was his debut, so he was kind of playing in one of his first games here. L.B. Fletcher. Let's check these game logs. Was this his first? 34. September 16th, and then our game. So this was only his third career game, and he didn't even record an at-bat until the very last game. So he was just a pinch runner all of these, and then he finally got a start at first base. So I guess he was kind of slept on early on, and then kind of turned it on. Not really here, better here, even better here, and then he was traded to Pittsburgh, it looks like. Traded to Pittsburgh. Bill Schuster. Pittsburgh won that deal. Al Sporer. Sporer. Not a great career. This was towards the end of his career. 6 career homers, didn't hit for much. Yeah, not a great hitter. Started with New York, was traded. Didn't take very long actually. Sporer. Ben Cantwell. He's a pitcher. 5-11 this year. Led the league in losses the next year. Yikes. Kind of his problem too, it seems like. 4.61 ERA, not good. 2 years prior to this, he was fine. Even the year before that was okay as well. But I think this was kind of when his career started to nosedive, it seems. Ben Cantwell. So was he the starting pitcher in this game? Yes, he was. He even had a hit. What was his hitting numbers like? He was 290 at that point. Standard batting. 231 career hitter, no home runs. Did he ever hit 300? Yeah, he did. This year, he was hovering around that spot, so he was a decent hitter in 1934. Fred Frankhouse. Some pretty good numbers off the top. This was an all-star year for him. This is his only all-star game. 3.20 ERA, good year. He was a starter. 13 complete games. He came out of relief in this game, though. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder why that was the case. Bob Smith. Good pitcher. Led the league in games finished this season. This was kind of before the closer was a real role on a team necessarily. Not an excellent year. Actually, one of his worst. Actually, it might have been his worst. 466. And a lot of time. Bounced back with a nice year in 35, though. Let's go back to Hal Lee here. 34, one of his better years. That's a good slash mark. OPS plus is pretty good. 8 home runs. Had 18 in Philly in 32. And then Bob Brown. Short tenure. Not a great year. Actually, pretty bad year. Was a starter, primary starter in 32. 11th in MVP voting. Okay. So who are our players of the game? Huey Crits, 3 for 3, 3 RBIs. Then we've got our set of 3 Hall of Famers here. Went combined 5 for 12. That's pretty good. Although Bill Terry kind of carried the load there. Travis Jackson had a couple of hits, an RBI. Only 2 strikeouts on that side. And then, like we saw, no strikeouts at all for the Boston Braves, even though they couldn't get anything going. 4 hits. Cantwell had one of them, ironically. That's funny. And then Les Malin, Urbanski, and Moore. Pair of walks. No runs. Couple double plays. We have no play-by-play in this one. This was a fast game. I mean, it makes sense because, well, is it going to tell me how many pitches he threw? Is that available to me? What is this? No, it's game score. So I guess that's not going to tell me how many pitches were thrown, but that would have been interesting because the fact that this game was only an hour and 45 minutes, I mean, I guess it's kind of attainable nowadays, but not really. That's down there. You can get to 2-hour games now with the pitch clock, but this is pre-pitch clock. This is, hey, let's go play baseball. Good stuff. Older game, we've got 3 Hall of Famers in this, which is cool. We got a couple of All-Stars this season. We got Roy Parmalee, a complete game shutout. Did he have any other ones? I guess I didn't look at that. He did this year and the year prior when they won the World Series. So yeah, these 2 years were really good for him. Cool. Well, there you have it. The New York Giants, not the New York Football Giants, but the New York Giants defeat the Boston Braves by a score of 8-0 in the final couple of days of the regular season in 1934. 8-0 victory. Roy Parmalee, a complete game shutout. 8-0 the final score. Cool game. We got a couple of lesser-known Hall of Famers. Bill Terry, Travis Jackson, a couple guys to keep in mind. Think of Mel Ott, one of the more prominent names in this period of time in terms of just Hall of Famers. But yeah, Bill Terry, Travis Jackson, some other really good players here. A lot of MVP candidates, at least that did receive some votes in this time period. Thanks for watching this Baseball Reference Deep Dive. We'll be back with another episode at some point. I'm Zany Baseball. Have a great day.